keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Keep doing what I'm doing.
And so your customers are making decisions to buy or not buy or change from one vendor to another. They go through this curve. And so you got to empathize with them. You got to kind of put yourself in their shoes and say, how do I help them? Let's not assume that this is a done deal. How do I help them through this curve so they're comfortable with me, comfortable with Tech Data, and they continue to do business with me? And then how do I embed myself so well into this customer that they never want to make the change to my competitor? So it's thinking both as a penetrating an account and maintaining an account. The better you are with building that relationship and taking care of what they want, the more you understand what they need, the more entrenched they become with you, the more comfortable, the less likely they are to ever make a change to a competitor. And so in the stages of helping customers make decisions to change to you, we're going to kind of define from a customer's perspective. So we did the the plunge and the trough and for us, we're not just going to keep the same items, but we're going to now change the names and we're going to call it sales stages. And sales stages are, the first thing we want to do with a customer is create interest. Right? We want to talk to them about motivating events, trends, issues, opportunities, things we can do to help them. The very first thing you do in a sales cycle is you got to create interest. You would never go for a close on any situation in life without first establishing that there's an interest and there's a common connection. Now, how fast you go through this depends on how good you are. You don't have to take a month to take a customer through this sales cycle. You can do it in one call. The key is going to be here, you can't go from one stage to another and skip the middle stages. Because if you do, you're disconnected from the customer because the customer is naturally going to go through this. So you can either ignore what the customer is going through, or you can go through it with them and help them accelerate through that process. Are we connecting, Eric?
Yes.
Good. So that's the first thing we want to do in sales stages. Number two is we want to evaluate. What does that mean? We want to identify and analyze the inefficiencies, the improvement opportunities, all the things that create a need to want to make a change. In a sense, we want to find the compelling gaps, the drivers to why people make decisions to change. That's the evaluation. We do that through questioning, through listening, through probing. So as we uncover and evaluate the situation, we also want to identify the priorities. What does the customer care about most? What are the outcomes? What are the results? What are the benefits that they will act on more immediately that become opportunities for me to begin to establish a relationship and make that bond and connection with them? So the more I understand their priorities, the easier it is for me to connect with them. Then I can propose. I can make recommendations that create value, right, and that meet or exceed all of their requirements. The better connection I make in the proposal, the more they're going to trust me, the more likely they are to act and move on to the next stage with me, which is when we're closing, where the value is confirmed, they're saying yes, we're building a bond, we're building a relationship, and there's mutual value between us. And we're now beginning to either continue to maintain that relationship or build a new relationship. And then we continue to build that relationship over time, which is to continue to satisfy them. Create the kind of environment that they will never consider changing from you to one of your competitors because they're so satisfied with the way you're taking care of their account that there's no need for them to consider going through this change cycle with somebody else. Right? So that's kind of the foundation. We're going to be spending a lot of time talking about helping you create questions, listening, proposing, presenting, all of this in an effort to help you take your customer through the decision-making process in a shorter amount of time, build a high level of trust, and establish the kind of relationship between you and them that they never want to separate. So in summary, in decision-making, people don't like to change. But by effectively moving them through the decision-making model, not shortcutting the model, but moving them through it as rapidly as possible, we can build trust and credibility. Ultimately, as an individual salesperson, Tanya, Your job, my job, is to build trust and credibility with the other person we're talking to, because that's what translates to sales and results. If we can focus on the trust and credibility, and we can focus on helping people get comfortable with us, we will get the results we're looking for. That'll get them to be comfortable with us, and it'll create an environment where they are willing and comfortable enough to take action with you. Ultimately, we create that kind of environment. That's what elite performers do. They do it very fast, very effective, and they move people through the process, and they make decisions more often than not to go with you. Great salespeople who have great close rates do this very quickly and very instinctively. That's where we're going. So part of what you want to do is identify where are those little gaps that may be preventing you from achieving the same kinds of results.